Today's guest is Ceniza, a top realtor in California and founder of Coterie, a private membership for women. In under 4 years, she's built a real estate business ranked in the top 1% in California, and she knows what it takes to outgrow expectations and break free from the limits others set. But today, we go deeper. We talk about the mom guilt that lingers even in the seasons of success, and why she chose to start something new, not just for herself, but to help other women rise. Autumn, welcome to Shift Happens.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I am so happy. Me and you met at Expanders.
Yes.
And that was such an amazing 3-day weekend where women really come together, grow, learn, challenge each other. Really like the mindsets, huh?
Yeah.
It was like, there was a lot
It was
there.
deep. Yeah.
From there, was that where you got the idea to start your new company?
Yeah. I mean, everything kind of took off from there.
Really?
I chopped my hair from there.
You're like, I have a whole identity
like
shift
everything shifted.
from there. When you look fabulous.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so why don't you bring us into from that weekend to deciding, you know what, I want more. I want to help other women rise through your company, Coterie.
Coterie.
Why do I do that?
You just had it too.
Coterie. I just had it before
okay.
the cameras rolled, and then all of a sudden it was like, how do you say it? Why don't you bring us into that?
Yeah. So from that weekend, honestly, I didn't know that that's what I was going to do. Real estate is and always will be my business, my number one, but that is kind of running itself at this point.
Yeah.
And I went into that weekend where I felt like everybody there kind of had an idea of what they wanted and why they were there. And I was like, wait, why did I actually sign up to come here? Because I don't know what I need. But that's what it was. It was, I guess, the start of what is now Coterie, and just being able to find other women that were in a similar situation as most of us were at that mastermind. Everybody's doing big things already, but it's like there's always more that everybody wants to do. And sometimes it's just hard to find a room of women that you can talk to. And even if you are successful, I think that's a big thing. It's having that group of women you can go to and share that success. Because a lot of times in your own friend group, you can't share all those wins. And you can't share the hard stuff either sometimes because they're not doing the same, they're not at the same level. Or there's not understanding. So I think that was that really is what started it.
Yeah, the birth of it. Wow. I know you had mentioned on your social media one time that you used to think that you had to keep your passions separate. Now, how did merging these identities heal or challenge you?
Yeah, that was probably the hardest part of going all in on this. I was afraid that if I switched lanes and started doing stuff, building Coterie, that then my real estate clients might not think I'm serious about real estate, or I just didn't think you could do two completely different things. I thought I had to choose one or the other. And I think that was huge for me to give me permission on so many different levels for so many different things. It immediately just showed me that nobody cared. Nobody cared if I was doing both. Nobody has questioned me yet if I can handle both.
Yeah.
I get a lot, are you crazy? Like you're doing a lot, but I've not lost clients. And I think that was my fear.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't show up and do both. And that's, it's helped me drastically, like on all areas of my life, because there were so many places I feel like I was holding back.
Yeah.
Just sharing so many things. Because I, again, wanted to stay in my lane or didn't think I should be, sharing other parts of myself when everybody sees me as this one person that shows up and talks about real estate and sells houses. And so that was a hard identity shift, but it's been the best thing.
Do you still find it a little challenging to show up in a new way on social media?
Yes. It's not I'm not overthinking it as much as I was. But I think really just the challenge is how much do I share of each? Like I do still want people to know about both.
Yeah. You're like, I still am a real estate agent.
Yeah. So now I'm just like, all right, I'm just going to share my life because I really am doing both all day. So I just share what's going on. And it's actually been easier.
Okay, that's good. Because I know there's a lot of women who are probably listening to this that are in a very similar situation.
Yes.
And it may not be with real estate, but it could be with another industry. And they're like, but I have a whole other passion and I don't want to muddy the waters. And I don't want people to feel like I'm like loosey-goosey all over the place. And I am a professional and I know what I'm doing, but I want to start something else. And I think what I hear you saying is be true to you, go in for it. At the end of the day, also the people that are gravitating towards you for your industry, they're still going to be there.
Yes.
And now you are just making a new path in this other direction, but that does not mean that you're any less than in what you started.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it all comes down to confidence too, because I think that was probably something I was lacking going into it. At the time, I probably wouldn't have thought that. But it was, just not being confident in like who I was to be able to say I can do both. And
yeah.
I
How
can
do you
run
get
both.
there? How do you get?
I mean, I think every day I'm still like,
right?
Can I do this?
Isn't that the question that like most women ask too? Is like, well, how do you get confident? Like, how do you get good? But like, I think we've both learned confidence is really an action.
Yes.
It is not something you're born with. Like, I'm just confident. And that's why some of the most beautiful women in the world can struggle with confidence.
Yeah.
Because it has nothing to do even with really what you look like.
No.
It is an action day by day choosing. This is the woman that I want to show up as.
Every day you have to. Yeah, no, that's been absolutely it. It's a choice I have to make every day to be like, no, I can do this.
Yep. Yeah. And you're proving that to yourself.
Yeah. But it's not something that I think you're born with or it just comes natural.
No, absolutely. And you mentioned how like some friendships or family may not understand, the ins and outs of business, right? Or entrepreneurship. So how do you bring them into this journey with you without overwhelming them?
Oh, I think that has been the biggest struggle. And I still struggle with that constantly. I think for me, I'm not trying to bring them in anymore. I spent so much time trying to explain to them what I was doing where it was like, why am I explaining myself? And that's just not the path they're going down and they don't need to understand. And nor do I need anything from them to be able to do it. But it is nice to have that.
You do want that.
Yeah. Right? It's not like they're not supporting me, but they just aren't understanding. Like, why are you working so much? Why are you doing all this? That part is hard. But I think, just letting that go and being like, all right, they're not going to understand no matter how many different ways I explain what I'm doing or why I want to do it. That's just not something I'll ever be able to get across.
So you kind of release that and then hopefully in due time, though, they will be able to look back and say,
which has happened. Now. Yeah. Which is already I'm seeing happen with like my family. And it's not all my family. My parents, a lot are very supportive, but like siblings and, I grew up in like a tiny town in the Midwest and came out here. So that was already like the first hurdle of like leaving behind like how we were raised is like, you just stay here. Like you stay in your bubble. Like you shouldn't need more. So, that was, I think the start of it, getting out of that. And then I've always tried to explain myself for all my decisions. And now it actually kind of just feels good to be like, all right, now.
You probably feel more free now, right? You're like, no, I'm owning this.
Because they always have come around on everything I've done. So I'm like, why am I
You're still going to be there.
Yeah. Yes, but it just takes time.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. You do talk about helping women build wealth through real estate, right? Yes. What's been the most vulnerable or impactful story that you've heard from someone that you've helped?
Oh. This has been, I'd say the last 2 years have actually been, I've had a lot of very vulnerable situations. So obviously in Southern California, it's easier to build wealth through real estate and it's powerful. I've seen what it can do, not to like overshare, but I've seen women use that to get out of situations that they desperately need to get out of. And being able to use that, like the equity in a home they have or, whatever that may be, to be able to leave behind something bad. And having that confidence, because I've had women come to me who can't get out of it because of financially. They're like, what do I do? Like if I've had clients that they don't make the money or they're a stay-at-home mom, but having that, knowing that, okay, we split those assets. And how powerful that is. And then watching them, my favorite part is then watching them know that they need to immediately invest that back into real estate and grow that and just watching what happens from there. That's when I really became passionate about it, just because I know what it can do for your future. And in times like, right now, even it's an uncertain market all around, not just in real estate. All industries are feeling it.
Yep.
So to have that to fall back on if needed, to know
Huge.
that you could take money out, you could, do a HELOC, whatever that may be, to help you stay afloat. That's something that in a lot of areas you just don't have, but we have the appreciation here. And if you can get into real estate and do that, it can change everything.
Mm-hmm. What would you tell to someone, let's just say she is a single mom, or, she's just got divorced and she's like, I have to rebuild everything right now. And I wasn't the breadwinner. And now I'm like trying to figure out, what am I going to do? And let's just say they're like, I'm going to get into real estate.
Yeah.
I'm going to become a real estate agent. What would you like? What would be like the top 3 things that you would say, okay, this is what I would do if I had to start over today?
Oh, wow. So if somebody had to start over and get into real estate or buy real estate?
Get into,
okay.
We could do both.
Okay, that
both. You could do get into and then buy.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, honestly, I think this is the hardest for most people, but the easiest is if you getting into real estate, you just have to show up and be yourself. Like, I hate to say it, but the barrier of entry is not that hard. Everybody in this room could say, I know 5 real estate agents.
For sure.
I mean, it's just everybody.
I actually know so many real estate agents.
Everybody has the real estate license. So you can get in, but it's building that trust. Yeah, it's like the clientele, which is because everybody has their license and everyone's kind of showing it. I mean, there's a lot of realtors get a bad rap because how others show up. So if you can just show up as yourself, you're a good person, and you can provide value, you're already way ahead of the others who are showing up pretending to be something they're not. So I don't know about you, I wouldn't want to buy a house from someone like that. I just wouldn't feel like
or they're so pushy, or they have an agenda.
Yeah. So showing up, and I mean, especially as somebody, say you're a single mom or newly divorced, sharing that, because there are so many others out there that are going through the same thing that would want to lean on an agent like that. Exactly. Who's like, oh, you've gone through this. Like, I don't feel, it's already vulnerable when you're sharing you're sharing financials, things like that with your agent. So to have somebody who gets it.
Yep.
So I think the third thing would be, kind of the similar to both. It's like so many are out there, so many agents are pretending to be something they're not. And it's such a disservice because that's not the clientele. Even somebody who may look on paper like they have it all together, they still have insecurities about what, that's a large asset you're buying. So if you can just show up and share your own story, it's so much easier.
There's such power in your story.
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah, because it does make people feel safe.
Yes.
And when they are trusting you with large amounts of money in a big decision, it's really like, not only are you just signing paperwork and showing them some houses, you are now their safety net.
Yeah. It's
right.
Yeah. So it's so easy, but it's so hard for people. Yeah. Like I mentor quite a few agents, and I'm always like, they ask, what do I share on social media? What do I do? I'm like, just share what you did today, because somebody else is going to be like, oh, like,
see, but
I relate.
think some people, just like how you were a little hung up on like, how am I sharing about my new passion and real estate? I think some people, even if they were just doing real estate or any business, let's just say mine, right? With the Shift Creative, it's like, oh, well, now all of a sudden I'm sharing, I went to lunch today. Does that make you more credible, less credible? Like, what's the line there between, should it just solely be real estate content, or should it be solely design content for me? What would you say to that?
Oh, I think it needs to be a mix. So I try to, not that I'm like actually planning it out, but I do try to not share as much real estate. I try to do, I don't know, like a mix of real estate, lifestyle, and just being a mom.
Yeah.
Because that is the majority, of my day is like running around with the kids in between, everything else.
Exactly.
And sharing that for my business, it works because people are like, oh, I can relate. Like, you're working, you're juggling all of this. Like, you completely understand.
100%.
Which I know it's hard for a lot of people to do because they feel like they're not taken seriously if they're also a mom. Yeah. But I've found, and I felt the same way when I started. But I think it's the complete opposite. My big thing that I always post on social media is that I'll never miss a soccer game, because I know one day, way sooner now than I'd like to admit,
yeah,
there won't be any more soccer games.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to want to look back and be like, oh, well, I did an open house and I had to miss it. So now my clients will, or if they want to see a house on the weekend, they'll ask, like, oh, does Luciano have a game? Or like, can you show it in between or after the game? So they are so mindful of that now, which is like, I mean,
that's huge.
Yeah, and that is huge for my business and my life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what about the top 3 things for people about like getting in, like about investing? Like top 3 tips for investing in real estate.
I mean, I know everybody always says it, but just get in. First, whether it's investing or buying your first house, it's not your forever home and doesn't have to be a dream home. Just getting yourself a piece of real estate. Yes. And letting that go up in value and then reinvesting that into something else. You can get to what that dream home is or what that is that you're looking to achieve through real estate, but you have to start where you're in your means. Like you have to know, like, don't go buy something just because it looks good and you want to show it off. Like if you can't afford the monthly or if it's going to make you, have to change your lifestyle and how, you're spending because of it, it's not worth it.
It's not going to be,
like getting in and understanding that there are so many options and all different price points, and you don't have to buy a house in Newport Beach today. And if you ask the majority of my clients that live in these, $10-15 million houses, they didn't get there because of their job. They got there because of real estate. They continue to flip properties and they buy one house, live in it, and then they'd use that equity to buy the next one and just keep building up. And with the appreciation the way it is in Southern California, you can get there a lot quicker.
Alexis here. I'm just popping in to ask you, have you been through something painful and felt like your story could help someone else, but you're not quite sure where to start? I want to help you unpack your journey, find your voice, and turn your story into purpose that heals you and empowers others. Click the link in the show notes below to learn how to start sharing your story with boldness and clarity. And now back to another impactful story. That's so good. That is so good. Now, you've mentioned on social media and you've talked about, right now about not missing one of your kids' soccer games or any of your kids' soccer games or events. Now, let's talk about mom guilt and how that lingers, especially being an entrepreneur. You just started this new business, and hey, girl, I'm there. I've been there. I understand what mom guilt feels like, and it's hard. It's really hard. And so I was wondering if you could bring us into a moment where maybe you felt like, okay, this is a low. This is a low for me, and also what gave you the strength to keep going?
Yeah. Oh, that's been tough lately because obviously I'm traveling a lot with Coterie, and obviously real estate, I don't need to travel. That's very local. Yeah. So I've missed a few not big things. Well, I guess maybe like middle school orientation. And like back up 5-6 years ago, I was a stay-at-home mom. And I stayed home with the boys until my oldest was like 9. So really? I had a good run. I was like PTA mom, never thought that I was going to be anything but like that involved mom. And while I did try really hard to maintain that with running the businesses, I missed middle school orientation. I was in Virginia. I was like, what am I doing? But what brought me out of it, honestly, is my kids they're forgiving. And I think it helps I have boys, so they're not as as emotional. They didn't even want to be there.
They're like, I don't care about middle school orientation.
Them watching me build and seeing what I'm building and just that feedback from them has brought me out of all of it.
And they're proud of you. I'm sure they're proud.
And that's exactly, that's been amazing to watch. And I never thought that would be the outcome of me building, 2 businesses now and going all in on it. I really didn't think they'd see that. I thought they'd only see, well, mom wasn't here for this, or we had, it's like even getting them to school in the morning when I travel. It's like my husband works in downtown LA. So it's like he's gone. But like just it takes a village, like my parents getting involved, you know, and it works. Everybody shows up and there's never, I think the biggest thing to think of as somebody going through it is it's way harder on you than it is on anyone else. I could ask them today, like, what did I miss? And they would be like, I don't know. You've been there. I don't think they would pinpoint anything that I missed.
Yeah.
But I could sit there and give you a list of the things that are like eating at me for not being part of or, you know, but I think, mom guilt doesn't go away.
No, it doesn't. And to your point of you are building something amazing. And even if your kids, how old's your youngest?
12.
12 and you 14?
14, almost 15, yeah.
14. I saw that on your Instagram, 14, almost 15.
Yeah.
My daughter's going to be 12. And so these are pivotal ages. And even if they don't have the category or the verbiage to be like, I'm proud, maybe they do, but maybe the older one does, or maybe they do. But they're going to be able to look back at this when they're older or when they start something or when they're in school or when they're having to do something hard and be like, you know what? I remember my mom did that. I'm going to ask her for help.
Yeah.
I'm going to, or they also have just a new appreciation for you. So sometimes we don't see the fruit right away.
We don't. No.
You know, and we have to be so clear on our why when we're going after our passions and our purpose that it does help alleviate some of the mom guilt. Doesn't mean we're not going to battle.
No.
But it just means, okay, we're clear on the why. And we know we're not neglecting our kids, but it's for a bigger purpose. And our kids are ultimately going to see that. They're going to see what a strong, successful, empowering woman you are. And they're going to applaud that.
Yeah.
You know?
And I mean, I think also just having those conversations with them too. And like right now I tell them I'm in a sprint right now. Like this is just like a season and I have a lot of back-to-back stuff, but then I'm going to take time off. And we're going to, you know, it's going to be, you know, we'll travel and do all the things. And they have that to look forward to as well. And I mean, they get it. I think just not withholding it from them too, because then
like bringing them in on that conversation. Yeah. Makes them feel more part of it too.
Yes.
It's cool. If your kids ever revisit your Instagram feed, what do you hope that they understand about why you share or choose not to share certain parts of your life?
Oh, it's funny because my kids now know, like, oh, mom's going to take a video of this. Like, just turn around and look.
Yeah,
and then
Okay, here's
so
this.
They do. They're like,
sure.
But I think they'll know if they revisit it that I wasn't sharing made up stuff. Because I talk to them about that a lot. So I think when they look at it, they'll see that I was present with them and also working, that I was balancing it. Well, I don't believe in balance, but that I was doing it all and still trying to be there for them. And that I was involving them in everything I was building. Because that is something that I think is, you know, you see on my feed a lot is my kids are always there because they are part of what I'm building. So I would hope if they revisited my Instagram one day, they like just had memories of, oh yeah, I was part of that. And oh yeah, I was actually like behind the camera when she was filming that house or like, those are the memories I hope that they take from it. And I hope that that's what I'm sharing for others to see too.
Yeah, no, I love that. What about like, what does it look like? Because you mentioned your husband works in downtown LA. And then if you're traveling, what do you do to really invest and be intentional in your marriage in these busy seasons?
Oh, yeah, that's tough. I probably need to invest more. Same thing. I think my husband also knows that this is just a busy season to get this up and running. And I'm really lucky, and obviously who I married, and he steps in and knows that he has to do a lot more during these times. But I guess I don't do enough. My husband is really good. He makes sure that there's date nights on the calendar, that there's stuff scheduled.
I love that.
So that, you know, in the midst of all of it, I can look and see, oh, we have like this coming up. Or, I mean, there's always something like that he'll have planned for me, and I do probably take it for granted sometimes, but that saves a lot. And that's where we can, you know, obviously we end up talking about work and things like that, but it's still us and
that intentional time where you could take a minute.
Yes.
You can decompress.
Yeah.
If it's over dinner, if it's for a walk or whatever it is.
Yeah.
To be able to say like, okay, first things first.
Yeah.
You know, our family. Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously part of it too is what I'm building is, you know, for the family. So it's all of us kind of coming together too, and like what we want to do with, like where we want to go, or travel, and all those things. And it's like, okay, a lot of this, obviously my husband has a great job, but a lot of the stuff we're able to do and the investments we're able to make come from me doing, you know, these other businesses. So everybody's invested in that as
exactly.
well.
No, it does take a village.
Yeah.
For sure. And it does take a team. And I think that it's so important in marriage to have a spouse that is supportive and that does say like, okay, like even if he may not understand everything.
Yeah.
To say, all right, I see you're passionate about this. I see that this fires you up and that this is aligned with your purpose to help other women rise, be in rooms, you know, really, because what you have created and are creating is a community of women who do not want to settle for less, and they want to continue to achieve. They may have felt alone. They may have felt not able.
Yeah.
They may have felt stuck.
Yeah.
Whatever, you know, and I'm sure a lot of people listening to this can relate to that. And now you have created experiences in different cities, different states and cities where people can say, okay, what's working for you?
Yeah.
What hasn't been working?
Yeah.
I'm struggling here.
Yeah. That is,
right?
Yeah. It's been amazing.
Yeah. I love that.
And it goes back to even everything you've asked me here. That's really what we share at these tables. I joke with people, I'm like, it's the most basic concept ever, but I think that's what's lacking. Like, I don't know, at least for me, like you sign up for all these different retreats and masterminds, and there's a lot, but sometimes it's like one or two questions that you just wish somebody would ask you.
Yeah.
Or you want to hear the answer of somebody else to be like, oh, okay.
Is it formatted, or like, do you guys have questions, or
we do
like bring us in?
So like, it's a dinner. So it's literally you show up to a dinner, like a really nice dinner, and usually there's always questions that we have prepared. We usually only get through like 2, maybe 3 of them. It's a small, intimate group of women in each market. We cap it at 16, but we're usually around like 12 to 14 per table. And we always start with we all know everybody in the room is successful and they've built big things, but my favorite question first is always to ask, what would you be doing if you weren't doing this? And then we always get into like, what's hard right now? Because it's so powerful to hear a group of women that you look up to and, you know, you see on social media that look like they have it all together and they're killing it. But to hear what's hard makes you feel not so alone, to be like, oh, me too. Like, okay, everyone is going through hard, and I don't know, they're just kind of like, you feel like, okay, I can get through this. I'm not alone. I'm not behind. And just, that.
I love that question. If you weren't doing this, what would you be doing? Because that illuminates probably your zone of genius.
Yes.
Most likely. Because I think so many times, and if people who have who are listening along, if you have not read the book, is it The Great Leap? Yeah, The Great Leap. I was going to say The Giant Leap. The Great Leap. It talks about your zone of genius and your zone of excellence. And in different zones, but those two in particular, the zone of excellence is typically what you are doing for your job, and you make money doing it, and everyone's like, you're so good at it, you're so good at it. But the zone of genius is something inside of you that you know that you have been called to do. And many times it does come with money, but sometimes it may take longer to build the money, like to see the money come. Other times it might just happen, you know, but it's primarily not money driven.
No.
And so I love that question because it causes us to pause and say, what is my zone of genius?
Yeah.
And am I operating in that now? And can I operate in that? Even if I'm still working in my zone of excellence at making money, maybe the zone of genius is a passion project or a hobby or something like that. Or maybe you're ditching it all and you're going all in on your true passion.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, we've heard some crazy things, but the best part is like people be like, oh my God, I just said that out loud. Like I've never said that out loud before. I've never told anybody that. And then just from there, the other women will like either hold them accountable to be like, well, then why aren't you doing it? Let's do it. Like, or I can back you and let's figure this out. And I've seen so many women now go and start to like actually bring it to life.
Yeah.
Just because they have, I think, the confidence too, because the other women around them are like, oh, you could totally do that.
Yep.
Like,
and you feed off people's confidence for yourself.
yes.
It's and that is so powerful.
Yeah.
So powerful. Because when you're just at home and you're in your sweats and you're no makeup, your hair's up in a bun, you're kind of slumming it, and you're like, man, I just don't know what my next step is.
Yeah.
But when you get into a room with other women that are surrounding you, that are saying, oh,
yeah,
oh, I actually know someone that can help you with that. Or, oh, I can actually, I am that person for you. Or, oh, you want to come on the podcast and share your story? Or, oh, like, oh, I have a podcast. Like, it's so crazy. The opportunities that come from rooms like the ones that you are creating.
Yeah. Last week in Nashville, the question was like, what's something like an ask? Like it could be like, if you're a service-based business, you could ask like, why wouldn't you buy a product from me, right? Or what am I doing wrong?
Nice. I like that.
Things like that. But somebody said, like, how do I speak on stages? Like, that's something I want to do. And two women in the group, one was like, oh, I have a major retreat coming up. You're on. Like, I'm going to put you on the stage. She's like, I was going to do the full keynote. I'm going to give you half of it. And it was like, oh my, like, see, like that, like you just said it. And now you have a room of women who are,
And I think that also shows us the power in saying what you want.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Because how many times are we like, well, I wanted to write this book, but it's okay. And you keep it to yourself. And it's like this little hidden secret, like thing that you know that you want to do. But then once you speak life into it, other people hold you accountable.
Yes.
You hold yourself accountable. And
you're speaking life into it in front of the right women who are like, we've got you. Where
and I think that's
others might bring you down and be like, well, you should maybe just keep your day job. Like, I
think that's
stay
key.
safe. Like these are women who are like, all right, let's take a risk. Let's do this. Like, let's help you build it.
Yes, you're speaking it in front of the right people.
Yeah,
is it makes all the difference.
Yeah, and just fast tracks everything.
And I'm sure you've heard like your network is your net worth.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you get around other women and other entrepreneurs that are aligned with, not even just your vision, but just in becoming the best version of themselves in business and personal development, then they're a safe place and they understand. They can. It's almost like it's a different language. You are speaking their language, and then they can help you get to where you want to be as well.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's so needed.
It is. And you've created that now.
Which is, wild.
I know that we talked about at the beginning how me and you met at Expanders, a mastermind. And now so many people, when I talk about, oh, I'm going to a networking event, or they don't get it.
No.
They do not get it, right? And so what would you tell someone who doubts the impact of networking in this way? And now I know we just said all this stuff, right? But if you could really say, if there was a naysayer, like, that's a waste of money.
Yeah.
Or I don't see the benefit, what would you say to them?
Oh, man. I feel like there's a lot of people around me that are like, wait, where were you? What did you do? Like, why? I don't even know what I would say, because I feel like I would just say you're not ready. Because if you can't grasp it or understand, it's tough. Because I think I have my own like opinion on, because I've gotten that feedback, and the people saying that, I know it's like they're afraid that they don't belong, or they're not ready to be in that type of room. And it sounds like bold, but it can change your life. Like, you just don't know who is going to be in that room with you. And there's going to be rooms that you might sign up for that you leave being like, what did I just pay for? But I feel like there's always something you get out of it.
I think if you go in with an intention as well.
Yeah.
And if you go in with a few questions prepared beforehand.
Yes. Research who's going to be there. Like, no. Prepare it. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think that's like a shortcoming. If you pay money to get into these rooms, any room.
Yeah.
And then you don't have an intention of what you want to get out of it.
Yes.
Then sometimes you can be more quiet. You don't ask the questions, especially if you're introverted too.
Oh yeah.
You could just be
which I am. So like that was tough for me for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, really tough. But I mean, I've made some of like my closest friends right now from Expanders even.
Wow, I love that.
Which is crazy to think. And I mean, honestly, I didn't even know why I was going at the time, other than knowing I just wanted to be around other women who were building big things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't even think I really answered that question, but it's tough.
You did, because you did say like you're not ready, and I actually do feel like that could be true.
Yeah.
That they're not ready, or they're not, or they don't understand, or they don't see the value.
Yes.
And that just means that they're not in the same place you are.
Yes.
And that's okay, because we're all on our own journey.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe they will never be there, or maybe they will.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah, because it's like what you put into it, what you get out of it too. It's like even like the follow-up. It's like the staying in touch. Like, I mean, we have like the group chat. Like it's just like those types of things are like, if you're not willing to be part of any of that, then yeah, it's tough to justify it. But if you have anything in you that's like saying you're curious, like show up and like bet on yourself, because that's what it is. It's a lot of times you're just not willing to bet on yourself to sign up and be in those rooms because you're not feeling like you're worthy of spending that money.
Yeah, there might be a block there personally that you have to get past.
Yeah.
And maybe the first step is signing up.
Yeah.
Right? You have mentioned that you help women build bigger. How do you define bigger for yourself currently?
Oh, building bigger for myself is just going after all the things that I thought weren't an option, that I thought, again, like I said earlier, like staying in my lane. Like I always thought that that's where I was going to be, but building bigger for me is proving to myself that I can do it all. Like I can be a present mom. I can run multiple businesses, that there's no real end game for what I'm looking to do. But showing myself and proving to myself that I can do it, and showing my kids that you can change things up at any time and reinvent yourself and be whatever you want. So that's building bigger for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there a story that you kept close, maybe too close for way too long before realizing it was meant to be shared?
Oh, this is good. I'm gonna think about that one.
Or like even just something where you're like, this could really help other women or other people, but I haven't come to terms with it, or I have, and now, and I've been ready to share that, or I have shared it and I've seen the impact that that has come from it.
I mean, honestly, it's not even anything crazy, but it is just like even just sharing a lot of times my story of like coming from a small town, which sounds so like not a big deal, but the more women I talked to that felt like so trapped and stuck, and not being able to, I guess it's Lindsay and I talk about this a lot, like coming from a small town where people don't want you to leave and like do big things, and when you do, it looks like you're showing off or it looks like you're too much, and then like, your family, you're trying to a lot of times downplay your success for others.
Yeah.
And I don't know, we joke that it's like must be a Midwest thing, because we're always like, oh no, it's fine. Like we're not, we're just okay. Like, but I think sharing that and giving permission to be like, you're not bragging. You don't have to feel like you're coming off that way, but sharing that you are doing things and you're building things, is helping somebody else to be like, oh, maybe I could do that too. And it's actually kind of selfish to keep it to yourself, as hard as it is.
I love that.
Because for me, like, I cringe at the idea of like talking about like how much money I make, or just anything. Just success is hard for me to talk about, because I feel like I spent my whole life downplaying it to make others feel comfortable, that I didn't want them to feel like they weren't enough, or like they weren't, building big enough. So I've always been very like people pleaser, like, no, like it's nothing. And I still probably think I still do, and I could share more because I know it will help others to be like, okay, but this is how I got here. It's not that I'm not coming off as a certain way. It's like I made a lot of I made a lot of wrong decisions, but I also made a lot of right decisions to get to where I am, and like betting on myself. And I think sharing that is helpful.
Yeah. I think a lot of times we confuse, maybe being cocky or pride with like hard work and hustle.
Yes.
Because it's a fine line, I think, because either we could be like, look at me, but I honestly think it's a heart posture more than anything else. I think it's like, where is your heart in this? Is your heart like, well, look at me, I'm so amazing, I'm so successful, I'm this real estate agent, and I built this amazing company in 4 years and I'm talking about you.
Yeah.
Being the top 1%, right? And in your industry. So I think that there's a difference between being like, here I am versus this is what I did to get here.
Yeah.
And now I can help you.
Yeah. No,
right?
That's so true.
Like showing the how instead of just like, look at me, sorry, you're never going to be where I'm at.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a difference.
There is.
And I think that we should be getting more comfortable talking about numbers.
Yeah.
And we should be getting comfortable exposing, if you will, the real grit.
Yes.
Behind the gram and behind these multi-million-dollar listings.
Yes.
Behind these big brands that, I've worked with or whatever. It's blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah.
And yes, it's connected to this dollar sign, but then there's also a dip.
Yeah.
There's also a downward, right?
Always.
And we can share that too.
Yeah. And I think that's probably, if anything, probably what is time to like share more of. Cause I mean, that's the stuff I gravitate towards, those stories that people share. But
not just the success, but when you're in the valley.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think it's so hard to compare yourself when everybody else is sharing the success. It's like, well, how do I come in and just start sharing?
Things aren't going that
just
way.
Yeah. Today sucked. Where is that happy medium? But but maybe it's just going in. But I feel like Coterie, there's a lot of that. That's what's shared inside those rooms because it's safe. But getting it out there to others is probably what's next.
Yeah. Well, for people that want to check out Coterie, it's going to be in the show notes, the link to your Instagram as well as to your personal or your real estate account so that they can see what this is all about. It looks phenomenal. I'm super excited for you and for the launch of this and just to see you walking in your purpose and passion and helping other women. It's so clear what your why is. And so I applaud you on that. And thank you so much for coming on Shift Happens today.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to Shift Happens. You are the reason I started this podcast. I hope it finds the ears and hearts of those who need it so that your voice matters and you are reminded that someone needs to hear your story. As always, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And I'll see you next week.